last year, 53 last year, 64 this year. To date, we have done 329 transfer permits, which I think is over our total for last year altogether, so. We only ordered 350 stickers, so we're getting to our limit there. Enforcement, Pauline sent out 15 RV letters. 5 have been resolved to date. I had the Schuler citation from last fall about the garage that's built too close to the road. He did plead no contest to the citation, but they really didn't work the compliance into the plea agreement. So now I need to try to follow up with him on the compliance. So he did stop in one day to see me when I wasn't there, and I haven't gotten a letter out to him yet. I'm looking at a September 1st compliance date. It's been almost 3 years that we've been dealing with it. So, and I reported 11 new dwellings to the census for the month of May. That was a pretty
Too close to the road. But he's headed to get one of those, right?
right.
It's a house.
It's a garage.
It's a garage, basically. The slabs.
There's no slab, fortunately, I guess, but he'll have to reconfigure it somehow to compliance.
Anybody have any questions on the permits or the enforcement? Whatever happened to the large cement?
The impervious surface, we actually have to calculate that per lot, and he has 3 lots. So the only lot that he's over is on his house lot, which was over. So the other 2 actually impervious surface is okay. The DOT is still working on compliance with the extra driveway that he wasn't permitted to. But he could very well end up with this loop over to that little shed that just doesn't touch 40, so.
I don't see it. Nothing changed.
Nothing's changed, so I haven't heard from the state in a while, but yeah, he's not cooperating, I know, at this point, so I don't know what their time frame will be.
It's taking on mowing anyway. Okay. Yeah, paint the. I can understand why you wanted to do that, just to have extra place to park. Okay, thank you, Yvonne. Land Conservation and Development, Nick.
Shoreline program has been super busy. We're actually lining people up, hopefully for next year already, on a new project for shoreline protections. That's been a really popular program in these first 2 years. I've been working with the Amacor Lake Association. They're putting in a application for a surface water grant to help with invasive species control, curly leaf pondweed on the lake. Storm projects are in full swing. We've got a barnyard we're working on this year and a manure pit abandonment. Those are the 2 big ones. And then coming up in, I think, mid-August, we're working with our new producer-led farmers group. They're going to be putting on a field day for folks to look at techniques that different guys are using for cover crops and no-till, soil health, regenerative health, and soil profiles, just to see what a soil profile looks like, a healthy soil, a degraded soil, and so on. So that's going to be coming up in mid-August.
Do you guys monitor manure pipelines at all?
Pipelines like
For manure distribution?
The ones that put in the ditch.
Yeah.
Oh, we try and keep an eye on them. But there's not a lot of strong regulation about them. We have in the past, I know for one place we did put some covenants, but some requirements that because they were going to use those manure lines, and we had some restrictions on where they place the line, where the junction, the couplers, because if they're going to fail, it's going to fail at the coupling in those lines, and so we put some restrictions on where they can have the couplers and where they could run them, how they were configured along the road ditches and so on. it's not very often that they fail.
Yeah.
And it's in the end, it's a great technique. I mean, it's a good way to,
Yeah, it keeps them off the road.
it keeps the big equipment off the road, and they usually direct incorporate it into the soil, so it's not sitting on the soil surface. If you get a rain, it doesn't run off as readily, so it certainly has its advantages.
I just, have a weird feeling about, sabotage or, some sort of, just laying out there in the sun.
Yeah, but that's true of just about anything. And if you had somebody with a huge slurry store, I mean, if somebody really wanted, they could go and open the valve up and create a mess from that. It hasn't happened. I've never heard of that happening, and I've very rarely heard of them failing.
That's good. Anything else
That's it.
anyone have any questions for?
Other than it's budget time too, so I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's always fun.
No, it's not.
It's not that much fun for people on the other side of it either. So we do have some time to go on to our CSM review.
Yep, there's just the one, you guys will have it in your packet. It's just a one lot, just shy of 2 acres along County P. They're kind of breaking the house off of the rest of the land. You'll note that there's a couple of dilapidated buildings that will be removed, so the surveyor actually noted that on here. So it's zoned ag, it's meeting the minimum width, and it's meeting the minimum lot size, so I would recommend approval.
Okay, a motion to approve would be in order.
So moved.
Motion, is there a second? Motion and second to approve a CSM in the town of Grow. If there's any further question or comment? If not, all those in favor of the motion to approve the CSM, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion's carried. Is it time to do the RFP?
Good.
5 minutes or less, okay.
So I did get the RFP put together, for the town of Atlanta, the western side. There are 91 corners that we're looking at, having remonumented and getting coordinate values on. Judging from past RFPs, we're looking at probably between, I would say, $45,000 and $50,000. Town of Atlanta, again, has agreed to contribute $5,000 to this project. I'm hoping to get the RFP put out as soon as we get the approval from you folks. And then the opening, we're due back a week prior to our next meeting. So then at the meeting, we should be able to open them and choose which vendor we want to go with. And then they will have until the end of March the following year to get everything completed and returned to us. That's really about it.
Just looking here to see if, do you have reference to when it will be open?
As soon as I send it out after this meeting, if you guys approve it.
No, I mean, so somebody who gets the RFP knows what date we're gonna open them, they have the right to be here if they want to,
No, I did not put that on there.
but it will be on the,
I can put it on there.
yeah, it should be, yeah.
Yes. Yep, bid opening will be on
Yep,
this
yep.
date. Yep, I can put that on.
I believe August 8th will be our next meeting.
Okay.
So you've heard the explanation, and this is a pretty standard
Yeah.
boilerplate
Yep.
document that we use regularly, and there's no changes or anomalies.
Nope. No special circumstances. Rich has signed off on this. Basically, it's a template at this point for RFP.
This is the amount, $5,000, is that a reduction, or? I thought when we did it, it was like 20 grand that the township paid.
$5,000 usually been,
I think it was 5, 5, and 5.
Yeah.
Like 5 when you started, 5 in the middle, 5 when they got done.
oh, my understanding was it was $5 grand for the township period. When we started it out.
Okay, a motion would be in order to authorize posting the RFP. There's a motion, is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve and authorize publishing the RFP. Are there any further question or comment? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Okay. Find the agenda again, okay. Okay, I don't know if we probably don't wanna do item number 5 until we have a little more time.
I could probably talk about it till we get started. So what I was wanting to get an opinion from the zoning committee, under conditional use permits in shoreline zoning, letter H is recreation service orientated uses such as resorts and motel, tourist rooming houses, restaurants and cocktail lounges, marinas, sports shops and bait sales, and other recreational services. Here's where you guys come in, which in the opinion of the zoning committee are of the same general character or clearly incidental to a permitted use or a use authorized by a conditional use permit. I've had a request from somebody in shoreline zoning about storing boats on their property in the off season. So I said that I would check and see if that is something you guys would consider under that recreational service, which is in your opinion of the same general character. So marinas, you know, I thought maybe it would fit under there, but that does strictly just talk about boats over the water. It doesn't talk about any other kind of boat storage, so. That's where this is coming from, to get you guys' opinion, if you'd like me to let them know that they could apply for that as a conditional use permit, in your opinion, or how do you guys wanna handle it?
Where are they located?
Where are they located? It would be in shoreland zoning, but not direct waterfront.
They just wanna shrink wrap it into their shop.
I don't even know that they would shrink wrap them, if they would just go in there. I'm not sure the level of service that would be. This is all very preliminary at this point. So I was asked, what would you need to do if you wanted to do that?
I mean, theoretically, if you gave a permit for a marina, in our sales, operation, they might have twice as many units on the property as you would have for storage, so. I don't know that we need to modify the ordinance at all.
You wouldn't, it would just be that you guys would be saying that, yes, you were saying that in your opinion, it would fall under like the same thing as a marina or a sports shop.
I don't see any reason why not, but maybe somebody else has more insight into that than I do. Seem to be
Well, as a
coming a rather
conditional use, you could
popular.
always set setbacks to the property lines or, you know, different conditions, depending on the location.
I would think
of the
setbacks from
property
the
owners, and yeah, you could always set those as part of the conditions if you were to approve. Alright, so we're gonna,
They should check with their insurance company to see what, the result might be with having all those expensive boats on their property.
that's, yeah, and I think they're in very preliminary stages, is, you know, how would we do it if we wanted to, and so
You might have to do a fence.
that's a lot of times what happens with those outdoor storage, you have to, I'm sure
Especially
for
if it's
insurance, they make you fence
A
it.
little bit easier if it's on the highway or something where there's a lot of traffic, but.
Well, but there's a lot of trees and stuff that could fall on
Yeah.
those. Depending on the year and the storms.
Okay, it is now 3:20, and we will convene a public hearing for the purposes of considering a conditional use request to allow a tourist rooming house in the town of Washington. There, give a public notice,
Yeah, I'll
please.
give the notice. Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Rusk, to whom it may concern. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Washington, in Rusk County, Wisconsin, that a public hearing will be held on July 11th, 2023, at 3:40 p.m. in the Rusk County Government Center Boardroom, 311 Minor Avenue East, Ladysmith, Wisconsin, relative to a conditional use request to allow a tourist rooming house on the following described real estate. Part of lot 18 and all of lot 19, lot 1 in Diamond Beach plat, which is in the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of section 19, town 33 north, range 7 west. Site address is W11828 West Pulaski Lake Road. Property owners are Dennis and Beverly Krizan, Cottage Grove, Wisconsin. All persons interested are invited to attend said hearing and be heard. Written comments can be submitted. Please contact the zoning department with any questions. Signed by Dave Willingham, Chairman of the Zoning Committee, on the 15th day of June, 2023.
Okay, we are in a public hearing and we will be taking, comments or testimony, beginning with anyone who wishes to speak in support of this request. Yes, sir. And please state your name and.
Sure. I'm Dennis Krizan, spouse of Beverly Krizan. We jointly own the property, and we purchased it with the, like a dream, sort of come true, if you will. We really enjoy the property, and we agree, well, I should say, we'd like to use it as a rental as well, and that's the reason for the permit, I'd say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys know better than I do. And I guess that's about it. So.
Does anyone here wish to offer testimony or comment in opposition to this request? Did you have any further comment on board?
No.
Okay. If not, then, if there's no objection, we will, adjourn the hearing and the committee will, hear the, staff recommendations.
Before I do those, I just wanna, let you know about this Wisconsin vacation rental law. We touched on it, I think, a month or two ago. And, after we had a couple of questions on this latest mailing, I'm gonna start including this with their notices so that we've had, I think, 3 people say, why are we doing this if, you know, their opinion really doesn't matter. We've had one that was like a year ago said that he wanted to come in, he was one of those that called in and made all these arrangements to be available online and then found out about this law later. So I'm actually gonna start including this, but it just kind of talks about something that went into effect in 2017 as part of the budget, and that short-term rentals are now defined as a residential dwelling that is offered for rent for a fee and for fewer than 29 consecutive days. It kind of goes into if a residential dwelling is rented for periods of between 7 and 28 days, we can limit the total number of days within a 365-day period, that it could be no fewer than 180 days, and that they may require the days to run consecutively. So you guys could decide we're only gonna allow rentals for 6 months out of the year, and it's from April to October or something. That's not something we've ever looked at doing, and some of the stuff that they allow you to regulate would be a regulation nightmare with the staffing that we have. So in short, Wisconsin homeowners may now rent their houses on a short-term basis for periods of 1 week or longer, but local governments may impose a tax on such rental activity and may require that the rental activity be limited to 180 days, consecutive or not consecutive. Homeowners may also have to obtain state and local licenses to rent their properties, depending on how frequently they rent and the licensing laws of the village, town, city, or county where their properties are located. Even with these restrictions, the new state law was welcome news for many homeowners who have opened up their homes for travelers, blah, blah, blah. So, just wanna make you guys aware of that. I will start including in that, maybe that will reduce some of the number of questions, but, that's something to think about there.
Did you say the minimum, rental was a week?
In this one, if they're going for 7 days or longer, you could also do things under 7 days, but they can say you have to do it for a week at a time if you want. Again, we've never touched on how would we enforce that. So the staff recommendations for the Krizan, approval is based on the plans submitted at the time of application. Occupancy is based on the size of the septic system and is limited to 6 persons. Addition on this one, sanitary inspection will be required due to the age of the system. Operational rules shall be provided that establish guidelines attendants must comply with regarding but not limited to off-street parking, garbage collection, occupancy limits, fireworks, and excessive noise. The local contact person shall be identified that will be responsible to manage the property. Contact information shall be posted on an exterior wall near the main entrance of the residence and near the public right of way with a minimum display area of 8 by 10. The following must be provided: address of property, emergency contact information for police, fire, and ambulance, contact information for Rusk County zoning, owner and local contact person's phone number, maximum number of occupants allowed, property line information. One business sign may be placed on the property with a maximum display area of 12 square feet. An annual review shall be completed by the Rusk County zoning office. Upon occurrence of 2 documented violations of the operational rules within a calendar year, the owner shall be subject to revocation of the permit. Advertising for occupancy over the allowed limit is considered a violation. No campers, tents, etc. are permitted. All required local and state approvals and permits shall be obtained, including an operation license from the Rusk County Public Health Department. Refuse and recycling services shall be provided for tenants. Off-street parking shall be provided for 3 vehicles. Street parking shall not be permitted. Discharge of firearms and fireworks on the property is prohibited. This permit shall be null and void if substantial progress has not been made on the project within 1 year of the date of approval, or if the property transfers owners before completion of the project. Findings of fact is the property is zoned residential, recreational, and shoreland. Tourist rooming houses are permitted by conditional use permit under 50-140, paren 4, paren H, and 50-193, paren D, paren 1, paren B of the Rusk County Code of Ordinances. The town board approved the conditional use permit application. The zoning committee held a public hearing on July 11th, 2023. Surrounding land uses include residential and recreational. No new construction is proposed. Number 7, a 2-bedroom septic system with a steel septic tank was installed in 1970. And that is why I have that additional requirement up in the first set of recommendations, was because of the steel tank.
So those would be the conditions should the committee choose to issue the permit.
Doesn't, Town of Washington have some, rules on, use of the lake and stuff too, like, fishing from set hours to, I don't know if those have to be included, but they should, if somebody's renting a place, they probably need to be aware of
Does
any
Pulaski Lake have some
they still have
special,
those or not.
does Pulaski Lake have special lake requirements?
There was at one time, and there was a town meeting regarding that, some of the residents wanna know Lake Lake for certain hours, like 10 o'clock in the morning till 7 at night, and I might have the hours wrong, but I attended that board meeting, and it turns out that a township, as far as I can recall, cannot put restrictions like that. I think it conflicts with DNR or something, but.
I almost think a lake association has to be the one to pass that.
Well, I know that they
So
had
many people on the
discussion at a
lake.
town
Yeah,
board
I think
meeting,
the
and
town-
it was going on for a couple of months, and
Yep.
and it was a matter of fishermen wanted some quiet time when they wouldn't be racing around, because it is a relatively small lake. But I don't know what the outcome was.
I don't either, so.
If need be, I could check with, I forget the lady's name who kept us in communication with those events you're talking about, those meetings.
Yeah, there's a new town board chairman now, so
That would have been probably Betsy. And now
Betsy's
it's-
out though.
Yeah, now it's
Yeah.
Sorry,
Marty.
Marty Boer.
If you need to know or want to know.
I'm just thinking if
Something we can
somebody
check
rents it,
into, yeah.
aware of it, they could be,
It could cause some
Right.
heartburn and quicker.
Okay, does someone wish to offer a motion either to approve or deny the permit?
You still have to approve it, I guess.
Well, yes, unless there was any,
unless there's something else.
yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to grant the permit incorporating the staff recommendations as the conditions. Does anyone wish to offer any additional conditions by means of amendment? If not, is there any further comment or question? Hearing none, the motion is on the approval of the permit as requested. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion is carried, the permit is granted. So we have another hearing coming up at 3:40, but we'll have to
About a few minutes
hold our
till.
breath until then. You wanna go further on that?
I don't think there's a lot more unless you guys wanted to discuss, if you had any other things you might wanna consider under that. Conditional uses in shoreline. Otherwise, we'll probably just put in there that was discussed and it was Lee's consensus. If you wanna actually do a motion on it. It is on the agenda.
That's what the line.
Right, it's in your opinion, so. You're not right
It seems to me that that would be a, you know, the committee can change at any moment, or conditions could change. Probably a case by case decision.
Yeah, what the use is gonna be and where it's gonna be, right?
So we will have a short interlude, musical interlude.
Maybe Nick could talk about your farmer market activities. Entertain us for a
Yeah,
minute.
I guess, we were trying another technique just to interface with the public, so we, started going to the farmer's market. So we went on a Wednesday, what we decided to do was a one Wednesday a month, one Saturday a month, try it this year. Wednesday was, not great, there were a few people. Saturday was outstanding. We were talking to people all day long when we were there. It was a really comfortable venue to talk with folks. No pressure, no sales. I mean, we're not trying to sell anything. We're just talking about invasive species generally. If they had other questions. So we're kicking around the idea of just kind of permanently every Saturday, just having a booth there at the farmer's market. And, just another way to kind of interface with the public. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, actually, how good that went on that Saturday. It could have had a little bit to do with, it was 4th of July weekend, so that might have a little bit to do with it, but, I still think it's a real good way to just get out and talk with the public. Yeah, it was really good. And the big draw was that we had a live buckthorn and a live purple loosestrife plant that we dug up and replanted, so we had an actual live example of the plants that we're talking about with folks.
Since they haven't watered it, it's gonna be dead before the next Saturday. So.
They look good.
I think it's illegal to do that.
Yeah, if they're not watered, they tend
Invasive
to.
species, you can't encourage it.
That would be interesting, cause I think there's a lot of people that don't know what purple loosestrife looks like.
There was, I mean, most of the people we talked to, that was, their question was, what is this? And then when you told them, it's like, oh, that's what that looks like. So, I think that's really important for folks, if for no other reason, just that they can recognize that plant.
And buckthorn just grows anywhere, or?
It's everywhere. And we really don't, and that's what we've been working on for a while now, is trying to bring some folks together that would be able to, or would be willing to go out and map it, and just tell, keep a running log or mark on a map and say, yeah, I found some here in this spot market, and we can start to create a map of that, so we get a real good handle on where it is in the county, and then we can start working toward control. But we don't even have a good handle on where it's at, but it's just about everywhere.
So that just normal means of distribution?
The big one is birds. It's a food of last resort in the winter.
Yeah.
So when things get real tight toward late winter, they'll eat the berries.
Yeah.
Well, the berries cause diarrhea, and the birds fly, and they spread the seeds all over the
That was
place. So,
a normal activity.
so, you see purple streaks across the snow in the winter, that's what that is. And so the seeds are spread that way. They also spread locally from one tree. They spread by rhizomes, so they'll send out shoots. And one of the big problems with buckthorn is that they send out shoots, they grow real fast in the spring, so they help compete all the native vegetation. And they have an allelopathic effect in the soil, the roots actually exude a compound chemical that prevents other plants from growing and maturing. So underneath that understory of the buckthorn, there's nothing growing there. There's no soil protection, there's no native vegetation, it outcompetes everything. So we really need to start getting control on it. There's a lot of techniques. I mean, chemical spray is one. Cut it and spray it, kill it, Garlon or Roundup. Or, the other kind of non-invasive way to control it is actually with goats. European goats will seek out, they'll eat buckthorn before they eat anything else. And so the technique, and lots of places are using it, more and more are using it. They'll get a herd of goats and temporary fencing, move them in, depending on your stocking density, move them into an area, fence them in, let them eat the buckthorn down to the ground, move the goats to another area, and then, 6 months later, you bring them back into that area, let them chew it down again.
They eat poison ivy that way too.
They'll eat just about anything.
Yeah, I know.
But they will prefer buckthorn. They will eat the buckthorn first, and then they'll eat everything. And I know a number of places, the city of Madison owns a herd of goats that they use for buckthorn control in their parks. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, but we were working on a proposal, a grant to get a herd of goats that we can use for folks to do buckthorn control.
Can we have a boat instead?
So if they eat it down before it goes to seed, how many years before that plant will
It takes a
actually?
while. I mean, it takes a number of years, but each year there's less and less buckthorn, so they just keep chewing it down, and, it's like any plant, you cut it down and clip it off enough, pretty soon it's going to die out. And then eventually it gets down to the point where you might have just a plant here or there, well then you can go in and it's much easier to manually control those, go in, cut it, spray it, and then, a few individual plants is a lot easier to control than, a widespread mass of buckthorn.
Do you have you talked about having a map, do you kind of have a general idea from your experiences where it's more concentrated or less concentrated?
Generally, yeah, I mean, the worst concentrations seem to be about the central part from around Ladysmith to the south, and then at least over past Bruce, over that direction, seems to be where most of it is in the county. I would not at all be surprised to find it just about anywhere.
So then we have to hire a goat herder?
Well, Colleen.
Everybody
Yeah.
seems to hate Colleen.
You've already volunteered to milk them.
You volunteered me to milk them. I always just had the question, something spread by poop, so. Does
They're
that,
gonna let it get to the berries though.
okay, so they won't let it, so they don't, cause I'm just thinking they poop it out and then it resprouts somewhere else. But not the case.
Before they
With
go.
the goats, no, because they're not eating the berries, they're eating the plants before they flower, before they produce seeds.
See, I was thinking,
And that crossed my mind too, is what happened with
See?
the goats.
They just don't eat.
they have droppings. That's what you're gonna pick up. If I get a milk, I'm gonna go
Fertilizer.
ahead.
This has been a very interesting conversation, but we are ready for another hearing. So, we will convene a public hearing to consider an conditional use request to allow a tourist rooming house in the town of Willard. Read the notice, please.
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Rusk. To whom it may concern. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Willard in Rusk County, Wisconsin, that a public hearing will be held on July 11th, 2023 at 3:40 p.m. in the Rusk County Government Center Boardroom, Ladysmith, Wisconsin. Relative to a conditional use request to allow a tourist rooming house on the following described real estate. Silver Springs Lot 11, Block 1, in the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 31, Town 33 North, Range 6 West. Site address is W9353 Silver Spring Road. Property owner is Normal Logistics LLC, Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. All persons interested are invited to attend said hearing and be heard. Written comments can be submitted Please contact the zoning department with any questions. Signed, David Willingham, Chairman of the Rusk County Zoning Committee, dated the 15th day of June 2023.
Okay, we are in public hearing. I'm gonna ask if there's anyone who wishes to offer testimony or comment in support of this request.
I'm the owner, Brian
You're the
Nays,
man. Okay.
but basically what she said, I'm just wanting to do the vacation rental. We've been working on this for a year and haven't done yet. Right, Connie?
Cow.
You're zoning cop. You're zoning cop.
Zoning cop.
So, first of all, I mean, I wasn't aware of the Rusk County permits. It's all new to me. I got a couple in Chippewa County and up on Holcomb, and I have one in Rusk. Chippewa County, matter of fact, I wasn't aware of theirs either, but, you know, quick permit. I got a permit through Chippewa County, we give them their fees, public health showed up, we did a water test, and within 2 weeks we had it resolved. I've been, you know, it was shortly after that, I heard about Rusk County, and, I mean, I haven't done nothing now since, been over a year, because, you know, all the zoning stuff that you guys require that wasn't aware of, going through the hearings, and I personally, I think you're doing a lot of work, you know, that's my personal opinion, but, and it looks to me like that Wisconsin thing that you gave me, and then anything you got laid out here, it's all spelled out. If you get more than one violation, they can revoke the permit. I mean, it's kinda, you know, and as far as the experience I've had on my other ones, I've had no issues, no complaints with, the neighbors, and we keep our prices up to kinda, you know, and I don't let dogs come in, cause you know they're gonna be in the neighbors' properties, so we do respect the people around it, and I haven't had any issues yet, I'm sure we're going, it's just the nature of it, but.
Well, I think the county, committee, just a few years back when we started we've actually had, quite a few, operating in the county without permit.
Yeah, I'm aware of
And
that.
so when we started the process, there was, you know, a bit of controversy, from, both from owners and from, the public. And so it was just determined that we would, put it into the conditional use permit process.
Yeah.
It generally has worked pretty well for us, probably just because of the public meeting notices that have to be, published and posted, that it probably takes a little bit more time. I think some other counties, it's an administrative permit, is that correct?
There's some that do it that way, and there's some counties that have chosen to not get into them at all because of enforcement issues with them. So it kind of varies from county to county, but.
I think it's important as a county or township to know where they're at, of course.
I think part of the issue for the public, or the conditional use permit process is that it does give a voice to people who might be affected by the operation of the business. Most of the time, we've crafted a series of conditions that we think mitigate most objections that might come from the neighbors. Yes.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, and I think you could probably do that with just a form.
We could, and, you know, that might be something we might wanna consider. At this point, I think it's still a part of our.
Yeah.
We're stuck for right now, but that is something, I brought that up before about the public hearings, and especially with this law and the frustration of the people who are maybe opposed to it, that feel like their voice isn't going to matter, but, there was, when we made some changes in our residential zoning quite a few years ago, we did put another class in there that was things that were approved by the zoning administrator and the zoning committee.
Yeah.
So it was one step shy of conditional use, but a little bit more oversight than just across the desk. So if we ever slow down, I think, and if we ever slow down and have time to look at ordinance changes, that would be one that I would be recommending.
Well, and I think it's happened that there are some lakes that have conditions put on the sale of properties and stuff, that they won't have rentals and,
Or have they?
well, there was that issue
Oh,
at
on
Fireside Lake.
Covenants,
Two Bear.
Bear Lake.
Yes, on Two Bear, where the
where-
covenants were on there, right, yeah.
There were covenants and stuff, and which prevented them
So-
We could still do that, I mean, we could still respect those covenants as part of our.
Moving back to the hearing process, is there anyone here who wishes to offer a comment or, testimony in opposition to this request?
I did receive an email, so basically it's from Jeff and Donna Nagy, who, are about maybe 4 lots down the road from where
Yeah.
this house is.
Yeah, to the east.
Please add my email to the written comments for the hearing on July 11th in regard to parcel number 46830-0. In regard to the conditional use request to allow a tourist rooming house at W 9353 Silver Spring Road, we are not in favor of allowing this to happen. Tourists do not typically respect the rented property or its surroundings. We would hate to have the neighborhood and our property not be respected as it currently is. There isn't any reason to turn that property into a tourist rooming house. There are several hotels in the area that people can rent from. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Again, signed Jeff and Donna Nagy. So after I got this email, I did, reply to her that, with that right to rent law, and explain to her how we have conditions, that if there was any condition she wanted us to consider, she wanted to, comment on that, so that really wasn't her concern, and initially she thought it was directly across the road from her and not down the road, so we got that kind of straightened out, but, I did send her the right to rent and explained kind of how your hands are tied, but you can put conditions on it, and I never, got any suggestions for more conditions. I also sent her the proposed conditions for this one in that email, so.
Okay, is there any other, comment or testimony that anyone wishes to offer? If not, and if there is no objection, we will adjourn the hearing and deliberate.
So if we could skip the staff recommendations, they're all the same as were read last time, except for the occupancy is, based on the septic system and is limited to 6 persons. And this one has a 2-bedroom septic system that was installed in 2018, so it's a relatively new system. But all the other conditions are the same as we just read a few minutes ago, so. I wouldn't mind skipping through them if you.
I just like to listen to
I
you read.
know, I'm so soothing when I talk, I'm sure, but.
Story time.
So yeah, it's the same set of conditions, just, not requiring that extra septic inspection, because it is a relatively new system, so.
Are we ready for someone to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Yeah, I have a motion to approve the request, is there a second? Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the request as given, incorporating the staff recommendations as the conditions. Does anyone wish to offer any additional conditions by means of amendment? If not, is there any further comment or question? The question is on the motion to approve the conditional use request. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed, say no. Motion is carried, the permit is granted.
Now you just need to finish up with public health, I'll mail you stuff, you know that, but,
Yeah, we're working with them.
finish up with them and then you'll be,
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
the zoning cop will leave you alone.
Yeah.
Do you have a badge?
I need one.
But you do have one.
I do have a fake one, yes, I do.
This is a good one.
We're gonna keep the codes.
They were trying to talk
His
me into
backyard.
keeping them, and I said
You've actually
absolutely
got
not gonna happen.
Oh, he volunteers me to milk. Put it back there.
They're interested in helping out.
He doesn't have his elk anymore.
No, I just gone.
Your goats are the best therapy for that kind of stuff.
Healthy goats?
Well, you can do yoga.
Maybe
with
you'd be
them
able to
every
take him
night.
to the grocery store with you too.
Companion animals.
Could sell milk.
We're coming with
In other news, if the weather cooperates, make sure to look to the sky Thursday night. There's a
And Wednesday,
solar storm, there could be some good
12th
ones.
and 13th. It's supposed to be rainy and cloudy here.
You know, I'm sorry about the solar thing, but I'll take the rain.
You think it's really gonna rain?
We got some yesterday,
Cloudy.
hail, actually.
Rained for about
Half
3
inch
minutes
hail.
last
You didn't
night.
get anything.
We were lucky if we got a quarter of an inch.
You
We
can
get a
get
lot,
one.
but
We had nothing.
Did you?
You can get
You, not a drop. How would you get a
Just
drop?
one time I wanna make,
It'd be south of Highway 8 in any, I think.
Well, we have another
We could see it, we could hear
musical
it.
interlude here because we have another hearing at 4. We have no other business to conduct.
We don't.
Did John ever get those rebar that he was, okay? I see he's gone, I was gonna ask
You
you.
left right away.
That was on the bill.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but I wasn't sure, yeah.
I don't know how that ever, like, who got it or how they worked it.
Highway
out.
was gonna go and pick it up.
I could see it sitting over there when I go by.
Oh, do you?
They should- well,
Oh, it is, yeah.
I thought they were gonna just store it out here.
Yeah, no, it's when they still had it, yeah, put it out here, yeah, fine.
so did highway?
I don't know where they, highway?
She
I
was,
think he was gonna cut it, wasn't it?
They were gonna put out highway in and they were gonna work on cutting it as filler work in between other stuff.
Nice to see departments working together.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is.
hey, we
Get
can,
along with most everybody.
Was that
How's the drone business?
good? I'm going out, I got a couple more places I wanna fly tomorrow, so. Tomorrow afternoon I'm hoping to go out.
I'd just like to commend, Nick, because I've heard lots of positive, comments with the interactions he's had with different people on the lakes.
Yeah.
With, native vegetation and stuff.
and actually getting some people interested in doing it is really an accomplishment.
It was interesting this year too, that last year folks were real interested in log revetments, fiber logs, things like that to protect shores. This year, lots and lots of people are really interested in native vegetation, just reestablishing vegetation on the shorelines. It's the bulk of the projects we have are just establishing vegetation.
You know, I was really surprised we had a couple of geese that started frequenting the shoreline at our place.
You're a lucky person.
What's that?
You're a lucky person.
Yeah, and, not real, happy about that. And then there is some natural, growth down there that just, didn't get started right away in the spring. As soon as that grew up, we didn't have any geese anymore.
I don't like it.
Yeah, they won't go through that
No.
thick, taller vegetation on the shore.
Yeah, so
So
definitely be encouraging a little bit more of a buffer there.
You have sheets or something listing of plants and types of stuff?
I've got a whole bunch of different documents that I use and basically what I do is for each site, look at soil type, shade, sun, condition, exposure, and whether it's acidic soil or not, whether there's a lot of pine trees, and then in those plant lists, I can kind of pick and choose and match the best plants for the site, so it's kind of tailored for every site, because every site is kind of unique. So we try and tailor the herbaceous plants and the shrubs and trees if we need them based on those conditions, so that they're gonna have the best chance to get established.
This is natural growth about that high, nothing special, no matter. Geese out there. I'm sure we don't treat our lawn and stuff, but we'd have terrific runoff if we did. That does also filter runoff, does it not?
Oh, yeah. And the wider that buffer, the better. The wider that buffer is, the more it's gonna slow down the water and let that sediment load drop out and pull the nutrients out of the water.
Let me know when you get your submersible ready. We need to count.
They
Number of beavers.
do, I don't know, I don't think DJI has one, but they do make submersibles.
You have issues with your road?
No, we need to know how many beavers are there. They built dam and convinced the highway department to do them all, fix it out and look at it. water level is up, which is good,
Is that in
not
that,
endangering the highway or
is that in that pond? Yeah.
It's pond, yeah.
That's been on and off again with beaver for a long time.
And it might be hard to tell if they've got bank dens, it would be real hard to tell, how many are in there and how active they are.
The dam's still holding, so somebody better go there.
Well, if you wanna know if they're there, just go move a couple
Yeah.
logs, make some
They'll
noise,
come.
they'll show up. Sit there at
We
night.
found one, bloated one, on top, I don't know how it died.
They did that as an experiment, and that's kind of how they determined that beavers respond to that sound of running water. They had a recording, they set up in a dry riverbed, but they set up a recording of the stream flow. And the beavers moved in and built a dam over the top of the speaker, because they were responding to that sound. That sound is what drives them to build the dam.
They don't notice that they
You
don't
don't
have,
think
they
it's
don't
white
notice that they
noise?
don't have to swim to get to it?
That made it easier to build when the water got
Well,
there.
I suppose you could just walk out there.
There's a number of new dams on Arcane Lakes.
Are they damming up some of the inlets coming in, or just from the low areas?
They're in kind of the swampy areas.
You know, I was working down by Jim Falls on the bike trail. I see them cutting trees down there. There's a couple of, backwater areas.
There was just some research someone had done, and I forget the park, it might have been, in the Quetico in Canada, or Algonquin Park, I don't remember where exactly, but there was a survey that somebody had done back in the late 1800s on beaver dams. It had mapped actually a number of beaver dams. And this researcher went back, got those maps, figured out where those dams were, and went back now, how many years later, and upwards of, I wanna say it was 60% of those beaver dams were still there and still viable to some degree.
There's a huge one down, off of County Road E, down by, Holcomb, or not Holcomb, Cornell. Where the Ice Age Trail crosses
Oh,
that area between E and double C.
yeah.
I mean, you can walk across that, it's huge.
Yeah, and
Been
those,
there for
well,
decades.
the one there at the pond there, I mean, how long has that been?
Well, that was just last year,
Oh,
when we convinced the highway department and everybody else to leave them alone and quit, well, with the WRA trying to, take care of it and ruin the pond in the first place.
Oh, is that what the sign is? That's the pond, I know it. There's a sign there that
My brothers put
lets you
that
know
up.
whether you should go for some WRA money or not.
Okay, it is 4:00, and we will now convene a public hearing to consider conditional use request to allow home-based business, a dog seller and dog facility operator in the town of Grant. Read the public notice, please.
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Rusk, to whom it may concern. Public notice is hereby given to all persons in the town of Grant, in Rusk County, Wisconsin, that a public hearing will be held on July 11th, 2023, at 4 p.m. in the Rusk County Government Center Boardroom, Ladysmith, Wisconsin, relative to a conditional use request to allow home-based business, dog seller, and dog facility operator on the following described real estate. The southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of section 11, town 34 north, range 6 west. Parcel ID is 14-297-0, and the site address is N4331 Rocky Ridge Road. Property owners are Benjamin and Tricia Miller, and 4532 Cloverland Road, Ladysmith, Wisconsin. All persons interested are invited to attend said hearing and be heard. Written comments can be submitted. Please contact the zoning department with any questions. Signed, David Willingham, Chairman of the Rusk County Zoning Committee, dated the 15th day of June, 2023.
Okay, we are in public hearing. Does anyone wish to offer testimony or comment in support of this request?
Ben, did you want me to read this, or did you wanna
Yeah.
just talk, or?
That would be great if you could read that.
Okay, so I had asked Ben, this is obviously a different use for us that I'm not familiar with at all, so I had asked him just to give me a little summary, so I'll go ahead and read what he had, submitted to me. It all started with our family pets, Thor, our male Yorkie, and Adele, our female Maltese. We loved having them as our companions, and we went on many adventures with them. We were so happy that we made the decision to adopt them, and we wanted others to experience the happiness and companionship of having a dog. This made us come to the decision to let them have a litter together. Thor and Adele's personalities went very well together, and their puppies were amazing. It became more and more apparent to us that it was hard to find dog breeders that truly cared about the health, well-being, and happiness of their dogs, and that also truly cared about finding each puppy the perfect home, so they could be happy the rest of their lives. This realization led to a discussion about adopting some more family pets to raise and love, and maybe eventually raising puppies to adopt out so others could experience dog companionship without having to worry about if their puppy came from a place where they received very little human interaction, care, and love. We quickly realized that while we loved each one of our dogs and puppies, that having more dogs meant more time and more work to ensure that each one was well loved and cared for to measure up with our high standards. This, of course, was no problem because our siblings and their families were already helping with dog care and loved spending time with the dogs. Our mission is our puppies and their parents are our passion. Our mission is to maintain the highest standard of care and quality of life for them. It is also to ensure that our puppies get matched with perfect homes so they can be happy and loved for the rest of their lives. So I don't know if you wanna add anything about what you're doing there. Can you pull this one up? I didn't get the actual application out to you guys. We did scan it in, but there's a number of different buildings that he would be planning on having them in, 10-foot by 16-foot buildings. So the second page probably has it, there you go. So it kinda shows where their house will be. They have a livestock barn, another livestock barn, and then they have these, rental buildings out at the end.
Okay, anyone here wish to make comment or offer testimony in opposition to this request? Hearing none, was there any communications?
There was none. Ben did provide me with his dog seller and facility operator license, which he'd already got approved, and then, yes, and then he also had, where did that go? He had an inspection. Who was that inspection by?
Through the state, you're saying, or through?
Yeah. This one, was that through the state?
Yeah, so it was through the state, Colin,
Colin Bennell?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something that he had to go through to get his operator license, where they check if he's meeting all the conditions that they require for the pets. So he did provide me with that documentation also.
And we did also have animal control out at one point, to look over it, so. Yeah.
Right, 'cause you've gotta have a kennel permit if you're gonna be raising dogs.
Yeah, yes, and that's what,
And make sure they all have their shots and rabies. We've been through that before. We just resolved a problem that's been going on for years in Rusk. And we just got that taken care of. We don't want another one.
yeah, and we do have that. That would be, through the state of Wisconsin, dog seller and dog facility operator.
So how many dogs are you planning to raise?
So we currently have, right around 20. It fluctuates a little bit, depending on how many puppies we have and stuff. And 3 of those would be males, and then the rest would be females. And it depends, it fluctuates a little bit on how many puppies we have, just because we are very aware of, the health of our females, and so if we feel like they should take a break for a little bit, we do that. So yeah, it fluctuates a little bit. But they can have up to, they're all toy dogs. There would be Malteses, toy poodles, and Yorkies, and we're actually going away from Yorkies and doing Shih Tzus now, so.
They're all small dogs.
Correct. Yeah, and so they have 2, well, actually 1 to 5 puppies. Usually they don't have much over 5, just because of how small they are. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of gives you an idea of how many we would have, per year. I would say an average of probably three or 4 would be a good average per litter.
And how long do you typically have the puppies before they go to their new home?
So, so lots of places do 8 weeks, but for toy breeds, we feel that's a little too short time to be able to go away from their mom and stuff, and, so we do 9 weeks. And sometimes on the smaller ones, we do 10.
You know, you mean smaller puppy or the smaller breed of?
Smaller breed. Smaller
dog,
dog,
okay.
So do you, is this a direct sales, or do you sell to pet shops or something?
It would be direct sales, to the dog family or the, yeah. And I would say, a lot of them get adopted in Wisconsin, but we also do delivery of other states as well.
Okay, if there's no further testimony, we will adjourn the hearing and, we have some recommendations.
I will read these.
Okay,
Staff recommendations, they're different and they're short. Approval is based on the plans submitted at the time of application. So what I'm referring to there is the buildings and that we're approving with that. Noise shall be minimized as to not disrupt neighboring properties. All required county, state, and federal permits and approvals must be obtained. And the permit shall be null and void if substantial progress has not been made on the project within 1 year of the date of approval or if the property transfers owners before completion of the project. The findings of fact, ag zoning applies to this parcel. The nearest residence is approximately 350 feet south of the property line. The home-based business is a permitted use in the ag district by conditional use under 50-141, Paren 2, Paren J. Town board signed the conditional use permit application. The zoning committee held a public hearing on July 11th, 2023, and the surrounding land use includes ag, residential, and recreational. So I believe he was gonna be about 400 feet onto your property. So it should be, you know, if someone's gonna do this type of activity, it's a pretty rural area and it shouldn't really be impacting any immediate other residents. So that would hopefully take care of the noise. The recommendations are pretty short because I just don't have much experience in this area, and so that's where he's got the state licensing and the state inspection, so I'm relying on their expertise in this area.
only question I have is if in the future we have, issues about noise, and, you know, it's interesting how noise carries in one area of this, you know, not in another area. So it's kind of hard to predict how that noise would, how would one mitigate noise? I know, I think they're not open anymore, but there was a boarding, dog boarding place out by, well, at the old deer farm. And I remember that they pretty much had to keep things inside most of the time, just because of that.
Yeah, I think with the boarding situation, you have a lot more, the dog is more upset and not at home. Do you find with, I mean, I know they're your dogs, so you're used to them, do they have much barking? Is it something where they get the pups or you wean them or something?
Right, so, they do have access to inside and outside all the time. And so I think that helps, just because they can go in and out, and so it's not like we let them out and they go crazy because they can get out and bark a bunch. I believe that helps, and also, so there's small dogs, and they do yap, but they don't bark.
They don't have the same volume?
Yeah, I actually have a neighbor that lives a fair amount away, and I can hear his dog. He has German Shepherds, and I can hear his dogs lots times better than I can hear our dogs, actually. And so, I mean, they do bark, but I have noticed that our older dogs, like when we first got the younger dogs, they bark more, but it seems like as they get older, they do bark less. We do have, my property currently is, it has a privacy fence, and everything else outside of the privacy fence around the dogs.
That's just what I was gonna ask you, is that property fenced in, so
Yes.
they're out and everything, so they're not gonna be roaming around?
Correct, yeah, we do have our current yard, fenced in, besides their regular runs that they go on, we let them out there as well, but it's all fenced in, yes, and it will be at our new location.
Okay. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve
For a second?
I'll second.
And a motion and a second to, approve the conditional use request incorporating the staff recommendations as the conditions.
I'm gonna make one correction to the
Yeah.
staff recommendation. I actually didn't change the legal description of parcel number on the staff recommendation, so I will be making that in, I just still have,
Editorial.
I have, yeah, it's
Good
just,
catch, cause he'd got you.
just a typo, so I will be, I just, as I was gonna close out, I'm like, it's not in the town of Washington, so I'll be making, that's just a typographical change that I'll be making.
What town is it?
It's in the town of Grant, and I have it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Rocky Ridge Road, sounds like, I was saying, how can that be Washington?
But you weren't gonna say anything, how nice.
Well, I'm thinking, I don't know, maybe they got,
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. Does anyone wish to offer any additional conditions by means of amendment? If not, is there any further comment or question?
I guess just my only comment is, like I mentioned to you, we've had one major problem in the county. It's been going on for years, the problem has been resolved, it had to do with too many dogs, not taken care of, and everything. We do have, through the animal control thing, have that problem resolved, and we certainly don't want another one, so that's just, but, like, you gotta have the licenses, the kennel licenses, and make sure they all have their shots and, all that stuff, spay, neuter, and all of that stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
So that, does the animal control require every dog to be licensed, right? No.
Puppies under 6 months.
No,
And then with the kennel, they're not individually licensed, they're licensed as a group, I believe.
But they're
you
not,
have to get a kennel license up to 12, and then there's so much over 12,
Yeah, correct.
yeah, a fee.
but they have to have all the shots in order to
The
sell them.
state requires us
Yeah.
to have all the shots.
Right.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second. The question is on the motion to approve the permit request. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed say no. Carried. The permit is granted. So our next
Good
meeting,
luck.
Okay.
Take care of them babies.
Okay, we will. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
you said was August 8th, right?
August 8th, and I did put a note to put the 2024 budget on that one. If anybody has anything else. If you ever have anything you want on the agenda, let me know ahead of time and I'll go ahead and add that, but otherwise, we will be having one cell tower hearing next month that we've got an application, but I believe that will be our only hearing next month.
Where is that?
I can look.
Do you ever get notified when they come active? Just curious.
Is the one by you active yet?
What, he did say something about the underground fiber optics or something, is what
Right.
they kinda wait
When
on.
they were here for the
It's
last.
part before the horse kind
I
of.
still say the reception is better down there since they put the tower up, they have activated it.
I don't know if there's any difference, but it's not,
I'm
any
not sure.
better or any
But the,
worse.
Honestly, haven't even looked
it's
at it.
funny, I can get a signal at the church,
We have a
but
booster.
if between
Yeah, but I never.
between County Road D and Bruce, very poor.
It's kind of funny how that, works.
Yeah, it does.
It's really good one for you. It doesn't always make sense to us
It
anyways.
seems to me it's gotten worse going south on 27, at least AT&T, my phone is.
Yeah, mine too, I have nothing from County Road D clear to almost to Cornell. And it, on the dash, it looks like I've got a signal. If there is no objection, we are adjourned.
Well, like you.
Thanks, everybody.